Greetings, greetings, family. We are live. Welcome, welcome to a special edition of the Sister Shanice Show. As you can see, I am here alongside Dr. Abu. And, we welcome you this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. It is a special show tonight because we have a number of candidates who are going to be joining us throughout the show today to pitch their vision to us as a people. Dr. Abu, great to have you in the house as always. How are you doing?
Give thanks, Empress. Give thanks for life. And give thanks to all our family that is taking in the vibration. Give thanks.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Yes, we have to give thanks for life. Each and every one of us, as far as we know, is the one life we have to live. And so, we have to do the best that we can with every moment of every day to be the difference that we want to see in our world, in our society, in our communities. So I just want to rise up each and every one of the family who is out there doing the best that they can to rise us up as a people. So, that has to be our goal. To elevate ourselves, to, demonstrate that pride that our parents had in themselves and that they instilled in us, that Black pride, the culture, that we brought to the UK, our wonderful culture, the way we walk, the way we talk, the way we dress, our music, our arts, our architectural style, our fashion, style and pattern. We bring so much to society that we really don't get credit for. But so I just want to rise up, our entire family, those of you who are utilizing your skills and talents for the advancement of us as a people. Enough respect to you. So we're just going to give our audience an opportunity to join us and come in the house. Dr. Abu, let's have some opening remarks from you, my brother.
Well, the only thing I can say, we are embarking upon, what I said, politics. And we have to have finance to deal with that. That we can buy politician. So we can't start the house from up. We have to start the foundation. You understand? We need a strong financial base to set that political foundation. You understand? So the whole ACU, I hope the we party and the other party can really get together and support the ACU. You understand? You understand? And it's one thing in politics, go with history. And we can't fight politics in Britain with American history, with African history.
That's right.
With Jamaican history. When we have a rich history here, but we're not using it because it doesn't come with a high tag price. We rather use a high tag price to sell history. We love the Marcus Garvey, the His Majesty, and the Malcolm X, but it doesn't comply with what's going on here. You understand?
Absolutely.
If we're gonna act in our way, we can't tell the young people them about Joshua chant down the wall in Jericho. We have to tell them, said, Jason burned down some institution, some Babylon institution in Babylon. And that's how they can build and be strong and know where we are. You know, see? But I can't run with the import history. I can't run with that blood. There's a time for everything. You understand? But the history where we are in the UK, if the young people them then doesn't know about it, all the other rest of history is invalid. All the other rest of them is invalid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. History is absolutely important. And we have such a vast history as well as a people. Sometimes it's difficult to know exactly where to start. I can see we've got one of our candidates, Angela, back screen. Let's bring her onto the screen and welcome her as she comes. Welcome, Angela.
Hi, thank you for having me. How are you doing?
Yeah, man, rise up.
We are great. And how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. Just been busy with the campaigning, you know, trying to make some real changes out here. So, you know, it's going well so far.
Excellent. Delighted to hear that. Welcome on board. Another opportunity to address the audience here tonight. So we're going to hear a lot more from Sis Angie in a little while. Let's just go over to the audience and see who we've got in the house. And viewers, please note, if you're watching live, we welcome your comments, your questions to the panel, your suggestions, okay? So, but first of all, let's just greet some of our family members. So we've got Stolen Earth in the house saying, greetings, family. Rise up, Stolen Earth. We've got our sister Nzinga Osata in the house. Oh, welcome, sis. Beautiful, beautiful activist in our community who has just spent decades serving the needs of our community. We welcome you, my sis. We value you. We recognize the works that you do. Rise up and keep rising. Not true, Dr. Abu?
Serious thing. Well, there you are. How many young people know of her? You understand what I'm saying? We have to tell these history. We import too many history. Too much.
For real. You know, we are history in the making, and we have many great ones among us. And we're going to be recognizing some of them tonight. And we need to maybe have a special platform where we can recognize our greats within our community while they're still alive, eh? Yeah, rise up. We've got Frank Tang in the house as well. We've got Surfer in the house. We've got Sister Doreen saying, hi, Sister Shanice. Hi, right back at you. We've got Sim Taylor in the house, AWF TV in the house as well. We've got Muku Aminai in the house saying, movements. Is that movements of the people? All right, rise up. And we've got Takaya in the house saying, grand evening, family. Great to be here again. Good vibes. Yes, indeed. And we've got T. Ade in the house. We've got Sandra Sher. Yeah, family, if you want to greet us, please do. We've got Info Awake sending greetings from Gambia. Oh, beautiful. So family, as you come in, please give us a thumbs up. Please give us a like, okay? We have a lot that we're going to be discussing here this evening. As you can see, we already have one of our candidates, Angela Carla, in the house. And we've got others that are going to be joining us this evening as well. Let me tell you the lineup. Apart from myself, who's hosting the show, and Dr. Abu, who's co-hosting, we have our sister Angela Carla, who is from the Taking the Initiative Party, and her colleague Angela Johnson is going to be joining us at about 9 o'clock. We are expecting. Oh, Alison. Yeah, thank you. Alison Johnson going to be joining us about 9 o'clock. We've got Huey Rose and Desmond Jaju, who are going to be joining us from the We Matter Party. They're coming in at about 8:30 from the We Matter Party. We've got the independent candidate for Lewisham, Gwenton Slowly, who's going to be joining us soon. And we're also expecting Dean Okai from Adpac to be joining us shortly as well. So, you know, here we are, as one of our viewers said, making movements as a people here in the UK. So certainly hope that you're going to be keeping it locked as we bring you another interesting and interactive show tonight. But before we go there, let me just quickly remind you of the show that we've got coming up tomorrow. We've got 2 shows for you lined up tomorrow here, and the first one is let me see if I can find the flyer. Here it is. The first show that we've got tomorrow is going to be from actually, I should tell you about my radio show first of all. Turn that down, please, Errol. My radio show is from 10 a.m. through to 1 p.m. live on the Big G Galaxy app, Huey, the only de-brainwashing station. I'll post the link to the radio station at some point in the chat. Okay, you can join me at 10 a.m. tomorrow. We've got a number of political candidates that's going to be joining me. We also have Piers Corbyn, who's running for mayor of London as well. So meet and greet and put questions to these candidates. Okay, so we've got that show coming up tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. GMT time. Then at 8 p.m. through to 10 p.m. GMT time, we've got another educational debate. We're going to be looking at the real reasons why the president of Chad was killed. That is going to be such an interesting topic that we're going to be critiquing. So join us. If you want to know from our perspective what the real reasons were behind taking out the Chad president, join us on Wednesday evening, the 5th of May from 8 through to 10 p.m. And then later on that same evening, you can join us for part 2 of our conversation and lecture from none other than Leader Band Dhaka. So Sister Shanice will be hosting the platform here for a discussion with Leader Band Dhaka, a very, well-read brother within our community. We're going to be talking about, revolutionary African leaders, assassinations, and coup d'etat. And it's so important, that we get the groundation and we get the history from an African-centered perspective. So if you enjoy African history, if you enjoy serious lectures, by well-read individuals, then join us tomorrow from 8 to 10 and then through from 10 to 12 midnight, okay? It's going to be a great one. So make sure that you're in it to enjoy the ride. Okay, let me go over to Sister Angela first, just to ask for some opening remarks before we really get into the topic for discussion.
No worries. So obviously I'm from Taking the Initiative Party, and it's been founded and funded by a consortium of business people. We've got a lot of strong Black people within the party that want to bring about the equality that we've not really seen within our communities. So, that's in a nutshell is kind of one voice for the people, being for the people, because that's what's been lost in politics. It's not about the people, it's about what the people higher up, what they want, and a lot of corruption. So we need to bring it back to the people.
Absolutely agree with that, Angela. Okay, Dr. Abu was talking about history. Let me bring a little bit of historical context, and then Dr. Abu, I'll invite you to add to the history as well, because, I know you're a man who is also very passionate about current history. So how did we end up here? Can you believe it that there are a lot of people around the world who don't even know that there is a formidable African community in the UK? They're surprised to find, people of color in the UK. That's because, on what we call the television, the British are very clever at kind of blotting us out. You hardly find us on the television unless, it tends to be something really negative and awful. It's difficult for our young people to break into the film industry, so you don't actually see us too often in the films or the series that they have, So, we can understand why a lot of our brothers and sisters around the world are actually really surprised when we say to them that we're, from Great Britain, from the UK. So how did we get here as Africans, and how did we get to the place now where we've got Africans, people of African origin, actually running as candidates in the UK local authority by-elections? Well. You could say that British Africans arrived here in the UK via what we call the Caribbean. We call it the Caribbean because, they took us from Africa and carried us beyond Africa to the place that they call the Caribbean. We call it the Caribbean. So there is a significant British population from the Caribbean. We are a distinctive cultural group. You know, our roots and our origins are in Africa and, you know, via the Caribbean and now in the UK. And it was our African ancestors who toiled on those plantations from about 1492 through to about 1833 and even later. It was their sweat, their blood, and their tears that actually produced the capital and the finance that industrialized the UK and the rest of the Western world. It was our ancestors, you know, who slaved on those plantations that, as I said, produced the finance in order to make Britain what it is today. And then it was our forefathers who even joined Britain in the First and the Second World Wars, fought alongside them side by side to help to liberate Britain. It was our grandfathers and our parents who were called upon from the Caribbean to help rebuild Britain after the Second World War. You know, Britain was actually devastated as a result of the war. And they call that group that came over from the Caribbean to help rebuild Britain the Windrush generation. But we call them the pioneers, young people who came, ambitious young people who sold up what they had, come into the place that they had been miseducated into believing was the motherland. And they came to rebuild the motherland. And, you know, despite their lifelong labor, their selfless labor, I think we're all very familiar with the way that they were subsequently mistreated, you know, but nevertheless, despite all of the mistreatment, the abuse when they arrived, the racism and the discrimination, they stayed, they persevered, they had us, their children here, and we have children, and some of us, our children have children in British society. And so there are a number of generations that are actually, you know, recognized and believe that Britain is their home, okay? But to what extent is the political situation actually reflective of our needs as a people in Britain? Are there institutions, organizations, and policies actually providing the services that we need to address our needs and requirements? And, you know, why is there a need for people of African descent to try and join the British political system? Let's start that discussion after I go to Dr. Abu to add to the story of our history and any aspect of our history that he might want to bring in right at this point.
Give thanks again, Empress. Sister Angela, welcome to the platform.
Thank you.
As I said before, the politics and our history bind in one. You can't separate them. You understand? And when our works become seasonal, we're in trouble. You understand? Because we only come alive on Marcus Garvey birthday, Liberation Day, and the rest of the day. We still, the rest of the time, we're still suffering, addicted to privilege. This is how I see even some of them who call themselves Pan-Africanists, liberationists. They are addicted to white privilege. And they will act and they will do a lot of liquor shuffle just to have what white people have. If we let's look at our history here and see that not only people from the Caribbean come here, people from India, people from all Africa come here because we were colonized by some European tribes. You understand? After them two tribalism were in war, you understand? Them use us as a buffer. Our people, and I'm glad you mentioned young people, because without young people, none of these politicians can survive, because they are the future. You understand? And every movement that bring liberty and justice to us, young people was one of the main fuel in it. And we have to, you know, how can we as a people here, You understand? Talking about we want to go into politics, we want to finance, and we talk less of our history here. We import history from America because it's full of all. We import, we dig up back Marcus Garvey and Selassie because it's full of all. And our own rich history here, what we have to take in front the face of these people. We are going to do that seasonal. How many people did know about Cherry Groves and what she go through? Yeah? But couple weeks ago, we know what happened to that white fella down Calvary. How can I tell the young people them about Joshua chant down the wall of Jericho? And I don't tell them that Jason burned down some Babylon institution in a Babylon. You understand? You see, we are messed up. We are messed up with white privilege narrative. You know, and I'm glad that we have some political front now, because before we never have any political front. We have some political backside. You understand? And this is what we have to face today, because none of those parties ever do anything for African people or people of color in this country. Not one of them. You understand? You know, see, the Labour Party get rid of anti-Semitic. But when are they going to get rid of the National Front out of the Labour Party? That is the question we must ask. Because long time we have suffered under the hands of the Labour Party, but they could kick out in Corbyn because it's anti-Semitic. You know, see? And look how long the Labour Party lick us with a racist brush. So I'm saying that. Welcome, Sister Angela. And I hope you can bring some new light to these dying carcass around here.
Definitely. I think mic drop after that.
Yeah, Budum, Dr. Abu. Budum.
Everything in a nutshell. Everything in a nutshell. I mean, obviously the founder of the party, one of his sayings is, you're either on the menu or you're at the table. And so we had to get ourselves to the table because we've had enough of being on the menu. And funny you mentioned white supremacy and white privilege. I was at the local market on Saturday campaigning, and there was a sister there. She had her stall set up with lots of beautiful black books. And, you know, we went and purchased some of her books. And she told me that there was a white person there earlier in the day and kicking up a stink saying this is not inclusive and white supremacy doesn't exist. But she said what was actually beautiful was that there was loads of white people around her, and they all actually stood up to him, and they were like, no, mate, white supremacy does exist. So, you know, this goes to show that there are some people starting to wake up, and if we continue to make enough noise, we can get what we need for our community. So that's basically the main aim, and I'm passionate enough and got the fire in me to go forth and make that happen, basically. So, you know.
Excellent, Angela. You're going to need that fire, indeed. But you know what? I can't even give them the privilege of the title white supremacy because, you know, it suggests that they're supreme and we're inferior, you know, and the reverse is actually true. So we prefer to say, you know, white extremists, you know, white terrorists, you know, but certainly not white supremacists. No.
You got to give them the title that your people are hooked on blood. A lot of our people are junkie to whiteness because of the colonial virus. Some of them are suffering from whiteitis. Deadly. So I don't say white supremacists. I said white privilege. That is what a lot of black people are. That is what we are killing one another for. To live like white people, you understand? To engraft into white people. We become a bad farmer. We love too much engrafting.
And we need to be celebrating our culture and who we are as a people, and to be proud of who we are. And therefore, you know, it's important for us to elevate ourselves, you know, to where we ought to be within this society. And if we keep saying that the others are more supreme, then that's suggesting that, you know, we have to look up to them and they're superior and we're inferior. And that is not the case.
The
Not
narrative needs to be corrected.
right. So let me just introduce our dear sister Angela. Now, Angela is a candidate for the South Norwood ward in Croydon. And I've got here that at a glance, Angela is a property professional, a mother, and a business owner who lives and works in the Croydon borough. She's very connected with the community and sees the concerns that the community has, the triumphs and failures as her own. Angela has been covertly supporting the area over a number of years and wants to extend this support further, this role of local councillor to address the real issues that matter to our community and represent in the way that she feels we need to be and deserve to be. Wonderful, wonderful. Angela, I wonder if you could share with us a bit more what your vision is, should you be elected, and we certainly hope that you will be successfully elected as a Croydon councillor. We need to see more people of colour in politics, absolutely. So congratulations, first of all, for stepping up to take on this big, big role. You know, first of all, what inspired you? We'll go to vision after. What inspired you, Angela, to actually make that big, bold step?
To be honest, I've always been told that obviously I'm a very positive person. You know, people enjoy when I speak to them, you know, and they actually get motivated to do things. And obviously being a mother as well, obviously I haven't met my children, but the people that do, they're very impressed with how they are. And I want that for all children. And there's a lot of, you know, even the curriculum, to me, I homeschooled my kids for a year. And to me, that I would say that's better than the schooling system, because obviously we know what the system is about. But I would like to implement the necessary changes within our curriculum at some point. You know, we've got to start somewhere. We're starting here locally. Next year, there'll be more seats available. But the aim is to obviously bring the necessary changes that we need to see for there to be real equality. But, you know, we can learn about white history, but let's learn about the real history for all people. Let's say, you know, it's all about truth, and let's bring love back into people's hearts. You know, they've got people living like animals in some of these council properties, and you just wouldn't do that for yourself. So do for others as you would do, you know, like for yourself is the main aim. So it's not an overnight fix, because there are a lot of issues. We know there are a lot of issues within the community. So it's not an overnight fix, but if we start somewhere, we can begin to see the changes. And I've bumped into people and they're like, oh no, you know, the naysayers, it's never going to change. You know, it's never going to change. But our comeback to them is, well, if we had that mentality during slavery, we might still be slaves. So, you know, if we're going to lie down and take it, then of course it won't change. But we're here to stand up and change it, because we're sick of taking it, and we're not taking it no more. So by hook or by crook, we will get the seats. You know, if it's not this year, it'll be next year. I'm quite confident with this year. We've got good comeback, good responses, great support, because everyone knows that the parties that are in power, the £1.5 billion debt was not money mismanagement. Someone's been stealing the money. We're not silly. So what we need to do is hold them to account and get through the figures, you know, with a fine tooth comb, and see where exactly this money's gone, because I don't think it's gone on, you know, where it's supposed to. So, you know, that would be another thing that we definitely need to look into. So there's a lot of things, but it's also about the community. What do the community want? What do they need? Because it's not about what I want or what the party wants. It's about on the whole, and it's bringing it back to the people, as I said earlier. So, you know, I hope that gives you a bit more insight.
Yes, it does indeed. Thank you so much for that, Angela. And how much did you say is the budget that's missing in Croydon?
There's a debt of 1.5 billion.
1.5 billion.
They declared
How?
themselves bankrupt last year. They then got a government bailout, and you know the area is just getting from bad to worse because you've got tips on every corner. You know, like people are just fly tipping, mattresses, all sorts, and there's more and more crimes taking place. There was a stabbing just a couple of days ago while we were campaigning. Then there was roadblock everywhere, and it's becoming too common. And they don't care about our youth enough. They need the resources. You know, when we were younger, we had youth centres. You know, it takes a village to raise a child. We need to bring back the love from these people. We need to get back teachers that care about our kids as well, and we want our kids to have a personality. Don't just shut them down for being themselves. You know, there's so many things. I could go on all night, but I don't want to take up all your life.
Okay, but just to say that on our radio station, as you know, I'm on the radio as well, we have a policy. We call our children children. We don't call them kids. Because that's making jokes, isn't it? No, our beautiful, beautiful children. My. Just imagine. I mean, I know we've got an audience watching us from around the world. So when we talk about that 1.5 billion budget deficit in Croydon, that is a small geographical area of, what's the size of the Croydon Council? It's like 3 miles by 3 miles or something. What kind of geographical?
It's probably about 3 miles by 3 miles, I would say. Yeah.
Radius of 3 by 3 miles with a debt of 1.5 billion, and they got the nerve to be pointing about corruption. Yes.
That's why them have the people in Croydon watching Robin Hood and not notice that somebody is robbing the hood. You understand? That's what they do. You understand? No, it's true blood. You know, see it, you know? And this is what they you know, see it. You see it, they give you myth and illusion. And the reality, you're far from it because you have been desensitized. As I said, when we talk about our condition in this country, it's like watching an horror movie here. But some of us don't want to face the fact that we are in the horror. We rather sit down and watch the movie as an escape. Simple.
For real, we are living in a horror movie. Okay, let's welcome. Sorry. Just gonna get, as you can see, we've been joined by Bishop Dr. Desmond Jaju. Welcome. How are you?
Hi, good evening. Good to be with you.
It's a privilege to have you on board as well. And, you know, for the family and the viewers who are watching, who may not be, you know, familiar with Bishop Dr. Desmond Jaju, he is going to be standing for the West Midlands Police and Crime Commissioner position at the forthcoming May elections. And so Desmond Jaju, he is the party leader of the newly formed We Matter Party, and is a known campaigner for equality and social justice. He said, "It is time for strong and responsible leadership in order to ensure that the communities are the police and the police the community." So we're going to hear from our brother now to just reintroduce himself to us. Tell us a little bit about who Desmond Jaju is and why you have decided that you're going to be standing for the position of West Midlands Police and Crime Commissioner. Welcome.
Well, hi, good evening, and thank you for having me. I'm just to let you know, I'm here with you until 9 o'clock because I've now been called out on another emergency, another matter involving the police, believe it or not, which I've got to deal with tonight. But in the meantime, the We Matter Party, one of the things is we've been involved, myself and my colleague and co-founder of the We Matter Party, Charlie Williams. One of the things that we've been involved in over the years are cases involving equality and social justice. Cases such as Kingsley Burrell, who was sectioned back in 2011 and he died within 72 hours following police contact. And a notable case where we led a march in Telford on 3 years ago involving Dalian Atkinson. That case has now started at Birmingham Crown Court today. Day one of the trial of 2 police officers and 1 charged with causing the death of former Premier League footballer Dalian Atkinson, who used to play for Aston Villa. Now, importantly, one of the things we found as well, when the George Floyd incident occurred last year, everyone was taking 1 knee. You know, and we said, we need to do something. We can't take 1 knee. We've been taking 1 knee for years. We've been singing "We Shall Overcome" for years. And we now need to be overcomers. Martin Luther King said many years ago, I have a dream. It's time for us to live the dream. It's time for us to put that dream into action. You have to visualize, energize, and prioritize what you're doing. And what we found was there was no priority for us to move forward as a community. Therefore, we, following the Black Lives Matter protest in Birmingham, we then had another protest, which was smaller. I think the Black Lives Matter protest in Birmingham had about 4,500 people. We went to another location at about 1,500 people there, and we called it We Matter. And the philosophy behind We Matter is this. Each of you as individuals on this show tonight matter. So if Dean matters, and hi Dean, good evening. Dean matters, you matter Sister Shanice, you matter Dr. Abu, you matter Angela. That means we all matter. Why do we always have to think about just us? We're not thinking about our brothers and sisters. We're just thinking about ourselves. And many of us are so selfish at times because we may wear designer clothes. And ladies, please don't shout at me, but some ladies will have the latest weave. So, you know, and have the nails done quite nicely and maybe driving a 21 plate car and, you know, living in a modern house. The fact you don't own it, it's rented, is neither here or there to you. And you've got the latest smartphone, and here's mine. So I'm criticizing myself as well. I've got an iPhone 12. So the point I'm making is this. We believe we're all right with materialistic goods, but holistically, spiritually, who are we? We have nothing substantive to say this is who we really are. And one of my other roles as chairman of the Windrush National Organization, we learned that Windrush came about because we have no effective Black, you want to say Caribbean, you want to say African, call it what you may, but we have no effective Black representation. Since the death of Bernie Grant, who have we had that is so loud and powerful advocating for our community, irrespective of their party colors? We have no one. And what we needed was that coordinated voice. So what we did was we had various consultation meetings, drumming up support. And in March of this year, the Electoral Commission registered us. We were told you're going to have difficulties. We were told the Electoral Commission will be uncomfortable with you using the word Black. We were told so many different things. But do you know what? We ignored all of that. And the reason we call ourselves the UK's first Black-led party, and there's a lot of controversy with what we've said, was because of this. There were 4 total strangers who came together in the end. We knew each other and formed We Matter. We didn't go to outside consultation for any of our documents. I drafted them. The money we had to pay to the Electoral Commission, I found that money. Meaning that we had no outside funding whatsoever outside the circle of the 4 of us. And we came together, we put it together, and we got it registered. That history will never, ever change because no one outside of that circle of 4 can ever now come forward and say that I started that party. The reason for that is this. As Black people, many people feel that we can't organize anyone to get drunk in a brewery. They use much stronger terms than that. But importantly, we proved with the work that we do that we can organize, we can get our voices heard, and we can bring about tangible change. And this is about making a difference. Now, moving on to what's happening now. We've got 2 candidates up. We've been registered only 6 weeks with the Electoral Commission, so I don't think we're doing too badly as a very, very small party. There's myself, I'm standing for Police and Crime Commissioner for the West Midlands, and Huey Rose has joined us, and Huey is standing in Enfield in Southbury Ward for local council at the local council by-elections. Now, one of the important things to note is this. Next year, we are seeking candidates. So we're seeking people to join We Matter. We're seeking volunteers, and we're seeking people to become candidates, right, for local council next year, because next year are big council elections right across the country. And we don't mind if someone's in Leeds, someone's in Southampton, we will support them, because the importance of this is we need to have representation. We can no longer sit at the sidelines and comment, because we've been doing that for years. When our parents came here, members of the Windrush scandal, they were told just to sweep the factory floor, you have to join a trade union. There was a closed shop agreement, and there was an affiliation to the Labour Party. And maybe back home, many people, if you look at Jamaica, for example, where my parents are from, they voted Labour. So when they came here, they voted Labour, thinking it was the same Labour, but it's not the same Labour, because we know everybody loved Alice Banga Bustamante when they came to this country. The point I'm making is this. We've been controlled for far too long. And one of the important things is we're no longer on the cotton fields. We're educated people. We're very articulate. People fear us because slavery taught us to master anything we did. So although we may not have the qualifications on paper, if someone asked us to perform a task, we would master that task. And that's what's important. Now, moving it on. Here in the West Midlands, following various incidents, is one particular incident that was uncovered last year when we uncovered one police officer attacking 4 black men, kicking a 15-year-old boy whilst he was on the floor, taking a man off his bicycle, claiming the bicycle was stolen and punching him up on the car bonnet, breaking another person's arm, and then tasering someone for being guilty. The only thing this guy was guilty of is coming out of his house to see what was happening at the end of the road because there was a car crash, and he got tasered. Now, that officer is in court on the 26th of June, so charged with assault in 3 of the cases. Importantly, we're making a difference. However, with what's happening with the gun and knife crime on our streets, which is not exclusive to West Midlands, it's not exclusive to London, my feedback is, who cares? And what we have to do is we have to come together now and say that we care. And We Matter is about making that all-important difference and having a coordinated structure so our voices are heard. But remember, I now go back to the Windrush scandal. That only happened because we did not have strong voices around decision-making tables to highlight the discrimination that we face all the time. And what we've done is, with We Matter, we want to be that coordinated voice. Now, let me make it clear, because we've got a colleague here from the Taking Initiative Party. We're not in competition with like-minded people. We want to build coalitions and work with people. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. The greatest thing that we can do is energize the unity that we have for common purpose and common goals, and that's what we need to be doing. We can no longer be in conflict with each other. I mean, we keep hearing the phrase crab in a barrel. We can't be operating like that anymore, because remember this. The next stop and search, which is happening right now, is more than likely to be someone from our community. The next person to get stabbed, there is a likelihood that it's someone from our community. The next community center to close impacts upon our community. Equality is more than likely to be from our community. The next man to be tasered is from our community. It's time that we seek redress and redress the imbalances that exist in our society. We're not going to do that by protesting anymore. We're not going to do that by singing "We Shall Overcome" anymore. We're not going to do that by smashing up the shops in our own neighborhood anymore, so that the poverty that already exists deepens. We are going to only deal with this now by being politically represented with strong strategic leadership that will bring about the all-important changes that we seek. So my message is clear tonight. I know I've been waffling on for a little bit, but my message is clear tonight. If you want change, you have to be the face of the change that you want to see. It's time to get up and get involved.
Ashe, Ashe. It's time to get up and get involved and be the change that you want to see. Rise up for that, my brother Bishop Desmond Jaju. You heard it, family. This is the candidate for the West Midlands Police and Crime Commissioner. So if you are from Birmingham Strong, some of them don't like to say Birmingham, they say Birmingham Strong, then do vote for Desmond Jaju for that particular position. And let's welcome our brother Dean Akar as well. Welcome, Dean. And we've got brother Huey with us as well. We'll come to you in a short while, brother Huey. We have brother Dean Akar. And, you know, as I mentioned earlier, our brother Dean is from Adpac. And first of all, can you unpack Adpac for us, brother Dean?
Absolutely.
What it's about. Thank you.
So Adpac is an umbrella organization because we have this thing drummed into us, especially coming from Caribbean backgrounds of who are you? What makes you special? So none of us would step forward and make a big, bold statement that we're going to set up an organization that represents 3 million of us in the United Kingdom. Because when the government is speaking to the Board of Jewish Deputies, they are aware that if you are speaking to Jews, you are only going to do that through the Board of Jewish Deputies. So we need an organization at an institutional level, which is exclusively us from the perspective of the Constitution, where nobody who is a non-African Caribbean can be on the board of directors or trustees, because it represents our interests as African diasporans, which is why Adpac is the African Diaspora Public Affairs Committee. So what that represents is not only the African diaspora in the UK, but a connection to state of the African diaspora region that represents us at the African Union. So we start to build that cohesion. Now, what Adpac's role is to coordinate the activity of the national grassroots organizations, national advocates, and then the professionals, because we leave them out. There's so many tribes in Britain. People say there's a Nyabingi crew, they're professionals, they're stush, but our solutions actually require all of us. And what happens is you'll see the corporate world take advantage of the professionals. Then you'll see that they lose touch with the streets because the grassroots organizations are there. But then the grassroots organizations aren't robust enough to go to the table and acquire the money that is commandeered in our name. So when you look at the Bridge Park complex, that was actually commandeered in our name. The money from the GLC was acquired for and on behalf of the African Caribbean community. The problem was we didn't have the sovereign entity, the trust, to actually hold the land and hold the building. So then the council became the custodians of the land and the building. We will never be in that position again, because through local authority, through men like Huey, through men like Gwenton, we directly acquire buildings and land and hold them in our own sovereign trust for and exclusively and specifically on behalf of the African Caribbean community. As I said 3 years ago, those 3 pivotal buildings we need: schools, chambers of commerce, and community centers. The schools are the first place that inculcate our minds and capture our spirits, and either build them or smash them. Chambers of commerce financially underpin our communities. So when we work very closely with organizations like Black Pound Day, we are promoting at a national level our businesses and money being spent with them, not just from our community, from all communities. And when we look at community centers now, we have a house where we uphold, promote, and preserve all of our cultural gatherings and our outlets, because any community that doesn't uphold, promote, and preserve their culture is no community. And this is why we're so easy to infiltrate. This is why Adpac doesn't use the word black, because the term means nothing. It's politically black. We don't play the race game. So when you look at the race organizations that have been here for 40 years, there's a reason African Caribbean people have not benefited one iota. You could look at the highest accolade in the land that has so-called British accolade that has been given to those in the race game, and they are individual solutions. They are not systemic that can be benefited from by the 3 million of us. They're individual titles, and they mean nothing to us. Now, I don't knock those who have taken the titles from the Queen. I personally would never take one based on the Holocaust perpetrated against our ancestors. However, some of them open doors for us. For those who don't and perpetrate the optics, I have nothing but contempt. So I had a show today called The Code Show with a brother named Rat Raven, where we actually observe on-code behavior. And we observed a video from the weekend with David Lammy laughing about setting up black-led political parties. Now, because he inherited a position from the death of the Honorable Bernie Grant, and the local people didn't want an English woman who was his wife as their MP, he was put up for optics. He has done nothing except put on weight in that borough and not served African Caribbean population of that borough one iota. The Turkish population have benefited. The Jewish population have benefited massively. And the African Caribbean population has not even remained in the same position they were 21 years ago. They are far further back. So anytime we feel that we are reliant on a party, there's something that I take from a Jamaican proverb. There's no such thing as a river without banks. And when you go into a political party, you are encumbered by party policy. Well, let us inform party policy that benefits our people, because when it benefits our people at the bottom of every measurable metric, it benefits all people. We don't want a party that represents us because we're special. We want a party that represents us because we're exactly the same as everybody else, but we don't experience the parity. So we're no longer asking, because nothing given can be sustained. Just like the Bridge Park complex, given can be taken away. Well, now we create parity by creating our own. So now we're having a peer conversation. You are no longer delegating and telling us, go over there, do this, do that. No. You see, Adpac in the political space is a pack where we call people to vote, our people, within their interests. When we say within your interests, what is going to give you social mobility? What is going to give you economic mobility and move you forward? That's it. It's not emotional. It's not party-led. It's about policy that will benefit you economically, socially, improve your opportunities for entrepreneurial participation, and that we do between creating relationships in the continent. So I've been fully behind the We Matter Party as a contributor, and I support the Taking the Initiative Party in all that they're doing. It's now time for vote for us in local authority, where we have access to resources, not to totally usurp them just for us, but in the boroughs where we have strong numbers to represent us comparatively. So if our ethnicity as African Caribbeans is a larger part of Haringey, Enfield, Croydon, Southwark, Lewisham, let us field candidates there and let us put them into the council so they can fairly distribute those resources to us. The whole point of the schools to industry pipeline, which is the public health approach, is to create a project management tool that completely coordinates all of our grassroots youth engagement organizations around the African Caribbean family for and on behalf of the African Caribbean child, in collaboration with local authorities that hopefully we are winning seats in.
Rise up, Brother Dean. And, thanks for your contribution and input there, and for your strategic perspective in terms of, how we develop and organize ourselves internationally. I've been looking at some of the comments in the chat, and, this is a kind of dilemma that comes up quite a lot when it comes to our role here in the UK. Because what we have in our community, I recognize, are a number of different perspectives. We have those who say, for example, maybe like the David Lammies, who want to integrate in today's society. They want to be part of the mainstream. They want to join the Labour Party, the Conservative Party. They want to join, the system as it is, and, and run with it. And they're quite happy, as some have said, and I think you said, to sit there and get fat and put on weight and serve other communities and just ignore the pains and the trials and tribulations of their own community. So you've got those who want to integrate. And then you've got those who are maybe living in, say, the UK, but want to separate, those who want their own schools, our own medical system, create our own economy, where we shop black, buy black, and, focus on building our own economy within the UK, have our own everything, even our own police force, because of the way, we as Africans are abused by the police within the UK. So you've got those who may be called the separatists. And then you've got the group as well who are like, Bon Babylon, we'll go back a yard, we'll go back to Jamaica, or we'll go back to Africa. Yeah. And it don't make no sense to do anything in the UK because it will never change. It's a racist, it's racist to the core, always has been, always will be. Some people saying in the chat, even the civil rights movements in America and all that they accomplished, all of those gains are being pulled back. And we could say the same in the UK during the 80s and 90s. We made huge gains at a local authority level. And a lot of those gains are being pulled back to the point where we've got to go back in with a new level of energy to try and win back some of what we had fought for and won back in the 80s. So to those who say, it's not worth going in there and trying to fight within those institutions, it's all stacked up against us. There's never going to be any change. What say you, members of the panel? Who wants to go first?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I say, as Adpac, I don't speak to lay people, because for all the well in the world, if you're not qualified, it doesn't make sense, because we're just having a nice conversation. And unfortunately, our children that are being murdered on the street and what is happening to our people, we don't have the luxury of nice conversation. When I had my shop, I would answer my phone to 6 calls because my number became public domain. I don't have the luxury of doing that anymore because I don't have time. So I might be speaking with the state of the African diaspora region. I might be speaking with Chief Timothy McPherson. I might be speaking with the We Matter Party. I might be speaking with delivery partners who are in banking or wherever. We don't have the luxury. So professionals who have the experience are very quiet, but they're also very qualified. So when you find out from people and you get a peer education on a regular basis, it's about infiltration. It's not about talk. It's not about hot words on Facebook and then you go back in your fridge, because you're going right back to work. So it's rhetoric. So I'm not interested in the rhetoric of people who are going right back to work, who don't even have the courage to answer them phone when they're at work. It's a waste of time. So speak to people who are qualified to infiltrate. Speak to people who are qualified and willing, is the second criteria, to do the work, to create the vehicles that give us parity. Because when you have your own car, you don't need to ask anybody what direction you're going in. When you have your own yard where your family is there, you don't need to ask anybody if you can go in at the fridge or go to the toilet. This is what we're talking about. So institutionally, we are not represented with these things. So if you don't have the expertise to do that, you fall into one of two camps. For me, there are contributors and they are clear. First criteria for me is you must be qualified. Second criteria is you must be willing. The other camp you're talking about, they're called beneficiaries. Now, whether they leave or whether they stay is unimportant to me. The fact that there will be services that they can rely upon is all that is important. Now, however many people make a Blaxit, and I plan to be one of them, but when I do, my heart will be clean, because what we will have left behind for perpetuity, like the NHS, will be here. And you know what? Nobody will care who was involved in setting it up or that they can use it. Who on this panel knows who set up the NHS? I don't care, because we can use it. And that is the plan of Adpac. That is the plan of the We Matter Party. That is the plan of taking the Initiative Party. It's that we have something as a legacy for our children to benefit for perpetuity, that has access to resources, that has a mandate that can say, you will hire a police force that is ethnically representative of this community here. We are going to have a mass hiring of African Caribbean police who have gone through a training course for them to be culturally competent and culturally understanding and empathetic of their own community before they even go into your training. And it might be to people's surprise now that I have one of these meetings with the police coming up, where they want to have a conversation about the hard facts of racial inequality in this country. And the fact that as a police and crime commissioner is Desmond Jaju's policy, Gwenton Slowly's policy, and Huey Rose's policy to hire police who are ethnically representative of their community, statistically.
I just want to chip in because I'm going to have to leave shortly, but
Why is that right?
I will just say this. Sitting back and doing nothing means that you agree with the status quo.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that. And if you want change, it doesn't matter if you're going to remain here or you're going to go. I talked about we're all in this together. So the point is this. Sitting back doing nothing is no longer the option. Arguing about where the promised land is no longer the option. We're here right now. Let's straighten it up, because not all our children, look, I've got 4 children, 5 grandchildren, believe it or not, and I don't look a day over 21. But importantly, and this is the important thing, not all my grandkids are going to want to come with me when I decide to go back and sit down on my farm in Jamaica under a coconut tree every Sunday and drink jelly coconuts in the sunshine. Not everyone wants to do that. Not everyone's going to want to do that. But what type of a world are we leaving here for our children? And that's what this is all about. And remember, as I've said, if you matter, they matter, we all matter. So what we have to do right now is level this playing field. And importantly, I don't want to be having this conversation in 30 years' time. I might be gone, but do you know something? I don't want my children to be having it. I don't want my grandchildren to be having it. Because do you know what? I remember my parents having this conversation 30, 40 years ago. And it's not good enough. And we are the ones, we've got the education, we can read and write, we've got sense. People hold us back, but do you know something? We can make that change happen and be as powerful as the Jewish lobby, be as powerful as the Muslims, be as powerful as the Sikhs, be as powerful as even the Somalian community. The new arriving communities right now are more powerful than we are. And what we now have to do is grab the bull by the horns. We're here and now. Let's deal with it. Because you know what? It's a coward who sits down and does nothing. And on that note, God bless you all and thank you for having me.
Thank you for being
It's a-
with us as well, Brother Desmond. So let's hope that you get the votes that you need so that you can get in to be the change that you want to see.
Blessing,
Rise up, Desmond.
Blessed evening.
Bless you. God bless you all, and thanks for having me.
All right.
One love, one love. So we've heard from Brother Desmond there. We've got Brother Huey backstage. Let's bring him on. And we've also got Sister Alison backstage as well, who we'll bring on in a short while. Brother Gwenton, welcome. Welcome. So you've heard what you said. There are those who believe that, you know, there's very little change. We're not going to be able to make any real impact or any real change. What say you to those, some might say naysayers, or those who say, left Babylon, make it sink, and left Altia? You know, what say you, my brother?
The first thing I'll start off by saying is this. I am one of 40 that has survived.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? So I qualify that. Out of 40 friends, I'm the only one here. So either dead or doing life in jail. I am the one that is here. Out of 40 friends, I'm the only one that's never been on the newspaper front page for getting murdered.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes me qualified to be where I am today. I have also worked across London, whether as a manager or a frontline practitioner, in nearly every borough that there is in London. I have left some mark and some footprint or set up some organizational project that is still going today, where people have implemented other things, renamed it, but the original seed was sown when I was in that borough. So I say that to say this. When you have been on the front line, whether as the soldier or as the lieutenant, there comes a time when you get a call-in, and the call-in is this, 2019. And we go to the year before that, because you need to know why I'm doing this. I worked in Lewisham Council, first went over there to offer them 1-bedroom self-contained properties, because I was the manager of a gangs project that was a subsidiary of a housing association. So I had access to 1-bedroom properties, and I was housing young people fleeing violence from Southwark, Waltham Forest, Islington, and Lewisham, and neighbouring boroughs. They then asked me to come out one night a week with them to talk to these young people to stop them killing each other. That one night a week turned into 10 years. I loved the borough so much, I moved my family there, started raising my children there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to raise my children somewhere where when my son says to me, Dad, I want to go to the adventure across the road, I start getting nervous because I know that there's some sleeping killers in the adventure, to the point where I'm introducing the potential killers to my son, so my son doesn't get mugged or murdered by the same young people that I'm working with. And when I'm seeing that, immediately I knew there was a problem. Because if me as a parent is nervous to live in an area where my son can't even walk across the road where I can see him from my garden window, there's a serious issue. 2018, a young baby, and I'm going to call him a baby because he was 8 years old.
Baby.
The mother went to the local authority and pleaded for help after her son was stabbed. Then the armed police came to the house and watched him bleeding to death. The normal process of that would be to put in a panic alarm, a fireproof letterbox, and treat all calls as urgent. And the reason why I'm well versed in that, I set up the country's first low-end witness protection program, which is now still running up to today, called Save for London Foundation, the organization that's running it. The project's now called London Gang Exit. I was the founder of that. Yeah, we piloted that in Southwark when it was called Served. Then we went to Lewisham and piloted it, called it Trilogy Plus. So the process should have been, from the systems that I put in place, some 12 years ago would be to safeguard the family and move them out, whether it's to a hotel, B&B, and if the family then refuses to move, you put safety measures in place. Yeah, that did not happen. 2 weeks after, the same young man was shot at. The mother then went to the probation and cried for help. Meanwhile, an 8-year-old sat on the chair with his iPad, waiting for mum to finish crying to the probation service for help. The probation service accepted that the family was at risk and let them out the fire exit. 2 days after that, someone poured, whether it's petrol or something else, through the letterbox and burnt the house down. The mother and the sister jumped out, but the young man was autistic and probably thought he would be hurt by jumping out. He ended up burning to death in his bedroom. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Yeah? The minute that young man died, I said, enough's enough. I've seen 16-year-olds die, 17-year-olds die. But when the 8-year-old dies, you have to take a stand. Believe me, I suffered for blowing the whistle on that. 18 months of harassment, amongst other things. Yeah? But I didn't break. And in 2019, I ran a by-election. The Green Party was so impressed with me that they decided that they wasn't going to stand against me. And the people came out and voted for me. 218 people's votes I received. 95 votes shy of the Conservative Party that was in power at the time. I had 2 months practice. I'm not a politician. I'm not trying to become famous. I'm not trying to become a career politician. I'm a normal person from the community. After 2019, I decided that I've raised awareness and I've done my part. Then earlier this year, the fire of the New Cross members came up again, and I started receiving calls from people in New Cross. And when the seat came available, the community was constantly bombarding me. Gwenton, you have to run. You have to run. You're the man for the job. Remember, I'm telling you, I was finished with politics. I hung up my gloves because I saw that it wasn't a fair process. I was one man late at night with a rucksack, out there in the dark, in the snow, in the rain, going up against a machine where they were bringing people from the mayor's office to knock the doors just to make sure that I didn't win. Mm-hmm. Because of the fear of them, if I won and got in power, what would happen? They started bringing people from the mayor's office to knock the doors with them. The mayor of Lewisham also out on the pavements on my patch to make sure that I didn't get into power. And sometimes in life, when you get a call in, it's an energy that you feel that you can't explain. And after speaking to my close people, and they said to me, don't worry, I've got your back, such as Dean and Adpac, I felt confident enough to take the run. So this is why I'm here today. And this is bigger than me. And I just want to make that clear. What I'm about to take on here is bigger than me. It's not about me. If this inspires someone else in the community to stand up and be counted and stop complaining. We have been complaining for far too long. It's slavery. It's because I'm black. It's because I live here. It's because of this. All of those are factors we understand. But we need to stand up and be counted and stop always making an excuse for why we won't do it now. We'll do it later. Meanwhile, everyone's suffering and feeling the pain. And this is why I'm in the race. And I'm not going to stop, regardless of what happens on the 6th. I'm not going away and I'm not going to stop. So I just want to make that clear. So don't just think that whatever happens, you're going to get rid of me. I am not going nowhere. I am here to stay. And if someone else that's out there watching this wants to run next year, I am saying this live here on your show. I will support them along with Adpac and the other members to make sure that the systems are in place for that individual to be able to run as an independent and not be pressured to join a party that's going to have you operating under duress with shackles on your feet and arms and have you singing from the same choir sheet that the rest of the Labour Party and Conservative and the Lib Dems have been singing from for far too long, and we're not being seeing any change.
110%.
Rise up, rise up. Yes.
Sure.
Yes, rise up, Brother Gwen. Powerful, powerful story you shared with us there, and that's what it took to motivate you, that you've got to be the one that stands up to represent our community. You decided that, you know, complaining, you know, isn't going to work. We've complained enough. So yeah, you're in there to make a difference. And you decided to stand as an independent Tory or Conservative Party. And you know, there are others here who made that same decision. Let me bring in at this point Brother Huey Rose, who has also made a decision to stand for a councillor. Huey Rose is actually standing for the Matter Party. Brother Huey, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you, Sister Shanice. Greetings and peace profound, positive
Huey?
vibrations.
Oh.
Yeah, can you hear me?
It's good.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Yeah. Greetings and peace profound.
Yeah,
positive vibrations for positive solutions. Glad to be on your show, Sister Shanice, for the first time. Black Power. I am a member of the We Matter Party. And the reason why I am standing is because I want to be able to represent the interests of our people within the ward of Southbury. I've seen the benefits of politics, being involved in campaigning in America for two prominent African-American mayors. And I can see the benefits that can come from that if we really unite around the power of the vote. I know that some people are dismayed. I know some people are concerned. I know some people think that it's a losing cause. I understand that. If you're thinking nationally around a national agenda and around national MPs, you are probably thinking correctly. But if you're thinking about local politics, this is where we as Africans and others hold the balance of power. And you can see from the different boroughs where we're in numbers, some statistics were done not many years ago, but about 8 years ago by Operation Black Vote that showed that a lot of the constituencies, we was holding that balance of power where we could shift it left or shift it right. It was down to us. But what's happened in the past, and coming from our parents, like Brother Desmond was saying, is that we've had a mindset of being able to vote for one party and one party politics for the last 50 years. Would it not be great that we changed that 50-year mindset and did something different? We were powerful at one time when we put in 6 to 7 black MPs, and we had a section of the Labour Party called the Black Labour section, which was strong, which was powerful, that was putting in MPs. But when the heads of the Labour Party saw that happening, they dismantled it on purpose. And so when you look at the smallest community within the UK, which is the Jewish community, they don't all vote Labour. They don't all vote Conservative. They don't all vote Lib Dems. They don't all vote the Green Party. They split their vote. And why do they split their vote? Because strategically, their end goal is to be able to know how much funds are going to Israel, how much funds are going to be helping their Israeli brother and sister back home. That's what they do. And that's a strategic plan that we've never exercised before. We always cast our vote with the Labour Party. We always cast our vote where we're never going to get nothing back in return. So on this occasion, when we come into office, we want tangible results. So it means that when we field 1,000 We Matter Party candidates next May all over the country, we are going to be a threat coming on people's doorsteps, and they're going to have to listen to us because we'll have the numbers and backing besides us. Where are we strong at the moment? We're strong in Southwark. We're strong in Brent. We're strong in Lambeth. We're strong in Haringey. Yeah? We are strong in these places where potentially we can take over the balance of power within those councils. And this is what we need you to do. We need you to come out and vote and have a protest vote. Vote for somebody different this time. Vote for somebody that looks like you, that's not controlled by a mass political machine. Vote for my brother Gwenton Slowly. Vote for my sister Alison Johnson. Vote for myself in Enfield. I ain't gonna belittle another black party. Why would I do that? I want to see that party supported. I want to see my enemies unsupported. And we need to give tangible benefits, because I'm concerned about what's happening with the youth resources. Why is it not being shared amongst our African youth and our other youth that are there? Why are these centers being closed down? I want to know, why are the health conditions of our people a lot worse than all other races? What is the key? What are they doing to make sure that black men who suffer with prostate cancer are screened at an early age? What are they doing about hypertension? And you know something? This hypertension, this high blood pressure is linked. What is it linked to? It's linked to our 400 years. Our 400 years of servitude, where we was fed salt, we was fed pork, and we had to work from can't see morning to can't see night. If you do that for 400 years, you're not going to have a healthy product after 400 years. So what I'm saying to you is that let's be strategic. Let's bring out our brothers and sisters on the 6th. All the brothers and sisters that are in Birmingham Strong, we need you to vote in our brother Bishop Desmond, Jaju, in the West Midlands. For those of you brothers and sisters in Lewisham, you need to go out and vote for brother Gwenton Slowly. For those of you brothers and sisters in Enfield, you need to come out and vote for myself, Huey Rose. Because I'm not telling you to put your 100% trust in politics, but I'm saying to you to give us an opportunity to make that change. The disadvantage that our brothers and sisters had in America with our honorable brother, Dr. Martin Luther King, they advanced social rights, but they never got no economic rights. So I had a friend whose mentor was a multi-millionaire at the time. In the 60s, he was a hair product manufacturer. His name was S.B. Fuller. And my friend was a man called Joe Dudley Sr. of Dudley Products. So Joe was telling me that when they went to boycott the Montgomery bus, what his mentor did, Mr. Fuller, he went to Martin Luther King, and he went to SNCC, and he went to the NAACP, and he said, listen, I've got the money, let us buy the bus company and have an economic tool rather than dignifying the jailhouse. Let's be smart and buy out the bus company, because they'll have to ride them buses anyway. So those buses were parked up for a whole year. But we was dignifying the jailhouse by marching, but we weren't being economically strong, because we got to integrate on the lunch counter, and then all of our black hotels, they went out of business, because now you can sleep in a white hotel. All of our black restaurants went out of business, because now you could dine at a white restaurant. And so economically, American blacks lost out. And we need to look at that, because when Bernie Grant was here, he favored many black businesses along West Green Road, where I go every day. He favored them with grants, and they had buildings. They didn't keep the buildings when it was time to buy and get that mortgage. Who has those buildings now? The Asian community. So along that stretch of road, West Green Road, which was an African black road controlled by blacks, we lost it because we weren't astute business-wise to keep it and be economically viable. So I'm saying to you, let's use the value of the boat. It's going to be the value or the bullet. One of those two is going to have to move. I suggest you do the ballot on the 6th of this month, Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you too, Huey. We certainly hope that you get the votes you need so that you can take up the position of councillor in Enfield. So we're winning over, I think, some of the views of our audience. As you know, there were a large number in there who felt that, you know, it was basically a waste of time getting involved in British politics. There's not going to be any change. Might as well leave the UK and go to Africa. But then, you know, others are coming back and are saying, well, you know, if we want change, we've got to be that change. And, you know, my position at the moment is for those who want to be the change, for those who see a future for themselves in the UK and want to get involved in British politics, to try and the change that they want to see. Can everyone put their device on mute, please? Can everyone mute their device? Not sure where that's coming from. Oh, beautiful. Oops, no, it's still coming through. I'm getting some knocking. Yeah. Alison, can you put your phone on your device on mute for a little while, please? Let's see if it's coming from there. We're getting some interference here coming through, and when you speak, then unmute yourself. So let's first of all, before I go to the chat, you know, we have been joined by Reverend Alison Johnson. Reverend Alison Johnson is a humanitarian, a youth worker, and she's also an active leader and member of the Croydon community. And she sat on many panels for the council, as founder of the Ambassadors Against Domestic Abuse. We've lost her, but hopefully she'll be back in a short while group. And as well as actively supporting the youths who are involved in gang and knife crime, she's also directly involved with the borough. She's well informed of its needs and opportunities, and is determined to be a voice for the people. Just lost our sister Alison. Let's go to the audience and see what questions or points they have been making. So there's a bit of a conversation and a discussion going on about black politics in America, and you know, there are parallels between. Oh, we've lost one. Hopefully we'll get Gwenton back as well. Yes, so there are parallels between our miseducation and miseducation of people in the UK as there is from what we can see in America, you know, and there's also discussion in the oppression that we experience as a people. There's the suggestion still that integration is going to be is our failure, our detriment and our failure. I don't think we're talking about integration, but we're talking about all these particular individuals who are standing for election seem to be talking about what they can do for our people, which is very different from those candidates who tend to stand for Labour and Conservative, because they tend to talk about what they can do for the entire community. They say they don't see colour. You know, they say they don't see the problems that we experience, you know, over and beyond the problems that other communities are experiencing. But from what I'm hearing, and panel members and audience, tell me if I'm wrong, I'm hearing from individuals who are coming from the heart of the community and have decided they're going to go into that political arena, although it's like, you know, going into, you know, it might be a David and Goliath situation. They're nevertheless going in there to try and make a difference. Shouldn't they try? Shouldn't we support them so that they can get the votes they need to at least try? Brother Huey was saying we hold the balance of power in a number of local councils. And if we were to come out and vote for our independent candidates, we can actually vote them in. Then once they get into the local councils, where again, in some of these local councils, we will hold the balance of political power. So say, for example, you know, there are, I don't know how many councils there are, but say there's a 32 Labour and 32 Conservatives, our one independent will make the difference between whether the Conservatives win the vote on the day or whether the Labour win the vote on the day. So that is where we also hold the balance of power within the local authority structures, even if it could be just one candidate. So if you've got 32 Labour, 32 Conservatives, the Labour are going to want to do what they can to get your support. The Conservatives are going to want to do what they can to get your support. And you're in a position where you can say, well, actually, I need a budget of 500 million for my community because I want to improve education. I want to open up youth clubs, community centres. I want to bring about business entrepreneurial training programs for our young people so they can improve their job prospects. I want this and I want that. I want health, welfare. We're in a position there with even just one candidate where we hold the balance of power, if we know how to strategize to be a formidable force to be reckoned with. We haven't heard from our sister Alison, and she's back. I see you've got into problems like I usually do. So let's bring in Reverend Alison whilst we've got her here with us. Welcome, Reverend Alison.
Good evening, sister, my sister, my queen, and my fellow kings on the platform. Can you hear me okay?
We're hearing you loud and clear. Rise up, queen.
Okay. The first thing I want to say is you mentioned David and Goliath. Well, anybody who doesn't know the ending to that story, David won. So I just want to start. Let's just start right there. Sometimes there comes a pivotal point in history where, and we're in it right now, like never before, that often when it looks the worst is the time when the underdog, the small one, can rise up and he can come through. Because what it shows to people, what it demonstrates to the wider public, regardless of colour, when we talk community, what you understand is when you're in times of deprivation, economic recession, you know, when things are, you know, when I say the rug's been pulled out of so many people's feet, it causes them to have to reflect. We have been in that period now of reflection for over a year, where people who thought the things that they thought were permanent are absolutely temporary. So why not in this period would you not seek to do something different? When you finish self-examining your, you know, looking within rather than without, when you begin to say, well, actually, I am my brother's keeper. When you say that it's not okay to sit at home or in the barber shop or in the hairdressers or the nail shop and continue to complain and don't actually rise up and do something. I, like my fellow brothers, my previous sister who was on, Angela Kayla, we've decided to arise. It's not everybody's calling, and we respect that, but then likewise respect those who think it is their calling. It's the ones that stand up in particular seasons that achieve things. When I'm sure, can we imagine sitting on that bus with Rosa Parks? Can you imagine when she would have gone and told the first friend or so, and they must have thought, thought, boy, Rosa, are you mad? Rosa, what can you do? We all know what Rosa could do. And it took a while, and it took a battle, and it took other people for one person's arising that others felt them brave enough to join. I know that in fact, no, let me go this way. For over 25 years, I've been an education consultant, and I spent my time working not in mainstream, but in the pupil referral units, working with young offenders, with teenage parents, with disadvantaged families, with pupil premium families, the disadvantage of the disadvantaged, the most vulnerable of the vulnerable. And I tell you, the only ones that could not be, and they were in the minority, let me tell you, I could count them on one hand out of the hundreds, if not thousands of young people I've worked with all across London and outside of London, the only ones that couldn't really be saved was those that had been given up on. As long as you have somebody to believe in you, as long as you have somebody to stand up and fight your corner, even when you get into that dark moment, you will realize there is a source of light out there. I want everybody out there, as my brother, my king, Huey said, get up and vote. People died so you could have that vote. Women, I was about to say the suffragettes, but they didn't chain themselves on the black woman's behalf, okay? Because even though they got the vote, we didn't get our votes till almost 30 or 40 years later. So I'm saying, I want to, in my particular ward, which is in Woodside in Croydon, I am personally concerned, as a mother of 4 daughters, I am personally concerned when over 30% of the children in the primary schools in there are actually on free school meals. I am concerned when, in terms of income deprivation, they are 7 below average. So if you think of a number scale, 0 going up to 10, 5 being average, and then 0 coming down, their income deprivation for unemployment may sit at 7 below average. It's like -7. Why wouldn't I want to rise up and cause people to have to be inspired, to aspire, and know that there is some hope? When you've got a glimmer of hope, you can do something. Why wouldn't I want to change and speak up on behalf of the baby that's born in Woodside, and just 7 miles up the road
Is our sister frozen?
Yeah.
Like she
I
frozen,
think maybe she needs to turn off the device and just put it down and put it back up.
You said, Sister Shanice.
Okay. Right.
That's what I've been. That's what I've been saying. Our politics can't separate from our history. We can't dare talk about British politics and a quote Rosa Parks. Why we don't quote Milton Hanson? Why we don't quote people that, you know? And this is what I'm trying to make you understand, sis. If we don't change the narrative, we ain't gonna get further. You understand? You know, I live in Suddock for over 30 odd years. Yeah. And I say that the biggest oppressor we have in this country is the local authority. And I bear witness. I bear witness how the local authority and the churches destroy the black community. You understand? I mean, I now apologize to no one because I have to deal with the reality. You understand? Because we faced it. You know, I'm involved with Galaxy Radio for over 30 years. Listen, we were called to go to court to answer why we're on the air. When we put out an ask for our historian, our sociologist, to go and explain, because you know, they're on the radio, tell the people they want to do all of these. My brother and sister, and the day I was on my own. So when people are going to tell me about liberation and all of these whole heap of things, I sit on the youth referral panel for over 20 years, volunteer. You understand? I faced 2 court martial as ex-British soldier. And if anyone know, when I face court martial, you're blacklisted. I am a qualified youth worker, and I never Not one black organization ever offer me a job. Not one of them ever, you understand? You understand what I'm saying? What I'm saying that our community, our black community, hook and white privilege. And they will kill one, they will kill their own to have what the white people have. So we have to examine everything. You understand? You know, I appreciate what all of you brothers are doing. But we must support one another. Without supporting one another, you understand? You know, and we must do our reconnaissance before we are sending out the truth. That is what we don't develop. We need to study more military science because we are under military attack. Good on.
Well, pay homage as always. My
give thanks, Sister Shanice, you freeze?
I think
Sister Shanice freeze, so we continue.
Yeah, so first of all, I'll pay homage to you and all the elders that's gone before me. My thing is this, as caught in the middle of the generations here, I've been blessed and cursed at the same time because the youths that come up after me are wilder than any other youths you could imagine has ever touched the pavements. Because when you look some 70 years ago, when people came here and they were living in the same house, throwing their partner and sharing their little bit of food with each other, to the point now where young kids are walking with machetes, that when I grew up, machetes was only for cutting coconuts. They're now using that to chop each other religiously on the street. There's an element of darkness around these youths. And if no one stands up for the youths to see that we are civilized role models, they can reach us and achieve stuff, we're going to see the place get even more darker. So my thing is this, there's no more time to just talk and wait for someone else to stand up first. We have to stand up, and whatever happens as we're going forward happens. But there's no time for anxiety and fear to hold you back, because that is what stops a lot of people from marching forward. They got the goodwill, but then the anxiety stops them from crossing over the line. And my thing is this, the young people no longer have names, they got numbers. And if you look at what the newspaper done not so long ago, when they plastered all of them young people across the front page to say these are the young people that died, that was not a deterrent to the young people in the community. Instead, they were working on a point system. When the young people give someone a chop to the leg, that might be 5 points. Anywhere towards the head, the points go up. So we've now got young people out here practicing on each other because they don't see no hope until they get arrested. The only time the darkness comes out of them is when they get arrested and they're in the court cell or the police station cell. That's when the darkness leaves them and they come back to normal. And they either want to tell on their friend or they start crying in the cell. So my thing is this, we have to look around as men, strong men, because there's a lot of weak, broken men out there. Because the environment are smashing the men to bits. How many people could you look around and see where, even for the women, where women are being snatched off the street here and molested and all sorts? Who is there to stand up for this in the community? No one. So we can't wait around for the people that their structure is set the way it's set and it's never going to change. To come and change nothing for us. And that's why, since I've been running this, I've been saying the same slogan. Vote the same and you get the same again. Do not complain, because you've got a choice. You've got an alternative. And when you've got elders in the community that's got the knowledge and live through the pain and everything to get here where we can walk freely on the pavements and not be harassed, you need to learn from that and not forget what people have suffered for you to be here today. And people look at Bernie Grant and other people, what have you learned? Nothing. So people name drop names because it sounds good, but what have you learned? We should all be standing in every area. There should be at least 7 to 10 of us standing at once. But instead, people would like to talk and pretend that they're urging you on and encouraging you. But really, all they want to do is continue complaining. For me, the time of complaining is finished. This is my second time running a by-election, and I'm not going to stop. So no matter what anyone says of their negative stuff, I'm not going to stop, because I've got children out here. When I'm nervous about my children walking across the road, if they're going to get stabbed or murdered, clearly, as a dad, I have to do what I have to do. Yeah? Because I'm not going to wait for no next man or woman to protect my children because we've got sleeping killers walking on the street.
110%.
Serious thing. Serious thing. As I said, if we look on the whole thing, we are in a horror movie.
For real. Rise up, family. Thank you for keeping going.
You know, see. But as I said, we don't want to see the horror. We love to watch it, but we don't want to face it and deal with it. And this is where we are. That's why you have brother like Dean. That's why you have like brother. Because we see the horror. That's why you have brother like in Gwenton. We see the horror. And we don't want our grandchildren and grandchildren tomorrow walk with post in placard, no justice, no peace. I don't want to see them think the blood. You know, see, so we have to act now. Sister Shanice, you're back. Sister Shanice, freeze up. Dean,
I am easy. Thank you for keeping
Sister
going.
is back. Sister Shanice is back.
Yes, I am. Thank you for keeping it going while I was off. Yeah, my internet dips in and out. Dr. Abu knows that really well. So he knows that when I dip out, just keep the show rolling.
Yeah,
and so family, you know, let's go to the audience and see if we can pick up on some of the comments that they've been making. So Sister Nzinga Sata, Rise Up Sis, says that the youth must learn our story and parents must take responsibility for ensuring that they are taught that their history in the whole and outside of it. Now, you know, for the importance of it. And it's so important, and it can make such a difference to the lives and aspirations and vision of our young people. In fact, it will probably make them what some white people might think too mighty and too. There is such a resistance to teaching our history in the schools. I mean, what say you as potentially elected council? Is it to teach our children their history? Is it the job of the schools? What support networks do you think ought to be in place, or what resources do you think ought to be in place to help parents with the task and not be aware of their history themselves, but power in the knowledge of our history. Let me just quickly go around the room in response to the point that was made by our Empress Nzinga.
Sorry, you were breaking up. We caught most
Everyone's
of it.
frozen to me, so it must be me that's frozen.
It's you, Sister Shanice.
You're breaking up, you know. So if Dean, if you want to go on,
So on that basis of the history, is more than just the history, because we have to bring it fully and connect the dots to current affairs. Me, Gwenton, and Huey actually represent a generation who are we don't have to take personal responsibility, but we do have to have accountability. We are the generation that created the generational gap between you, Dr. Abu, and our children. We represent the generation that created the gap. and we are fully responsible for creating that cohesion. So when you have an organization like Adpac that is talking about a schools to industry pipeline, and you have counselors like Gwenton and Huey, is for us as an organization where there's no conflict of interest in that local authority, where we gather up all of the grassroots organizations, youth engagement and educators. And then when we're going to local authority has an agenda to resource all of those organizations to teach our children from history all the way through rites of passage with young people to make the early intervention through leadership. Because for those who are interested in entrepreneurial and civic leadership, we must now create a layer of generational leadership who are choosing at 15 to 25 years old to come and learn from the steps of a Gwenton, as we're learning from the steps of a Sister Shanice, Brother Abu, and Huey. These are the paths that we have to create. It has to be a seamless pathway from 3 to 21, from school all the way through to industry. And we speak a lot about history, but we speak the rhetoric. We don't take the lessons. I know Garvey and Malcolm X would turn in their grave if they only heard the most intelligent of us quoting them. And they said, one thing, when Garvey died here, broke, alone, sick, asthmatic, he was writing the black print for a Pan-African bank. If I talk about business, and I'm not actually trying to solidify that thing between the Lumi and a wallet that reaches here that work outside of the SWIFT system, who am I? If Gwenton and Huey are talking about Bernie Grant, but then they're going to go and join the Labour Party, who are they? They walk in dominion of their manhood. Most importantly, and because they walk in dominion of their manhood as fathers, they understand that our children are the most important asset that we have. So once you understand that our children are the most important asset, the first thing you want to imprint on them is every mistake that we've made, which is history. Every accomplishment that we've achieved, which is history. And because they are learning that, there's no need to extrapolate Europeans from their central consciousness. It was never there. That is why we take charge of our education. It's not because we hate Europeans or Asians, Chinese or anybody else. It's because we must love us enough to give us a clean mind and a strong heart as citizens to go forward and serve our own communities. Now, if we just talk that, or I've been reading the comments, and half the people, why the thing done, you know, they're not going nowhere. You're going to see that man in Suffolk or Lambeth or Croydon in 10 years' time. Chat. So whilst we're here, let those who are qualified and willing, remember I said this side, you know, contributors. And if you're a beneficiary, do not take away from the spirit of a contributor with your duppy business. Because if it lick you down, and the only solution you have is to run away from yourself, leave the contributors alone. Because you do it with the young ones as well. And you can burn out their spirit and turn that one from being a layer of generational leadership to a killer. When Gwenton talks about sleeping killers, when the hair go up on your neck, you know a killer.
And I'm glad you touched on that, Dean, because it's this. A lot of the time, people don't know the lengths of embedded trauma that is placed on the community after each murder. In Lewisham, they've had 2 in less than 2 weeks. All 4 of them were my clients. So who was actually engaging with those young people before they decided to leave their house and get killed or kill, or trying to kill and then get killed? So we've got people trying to kill other people and ending up dead because they've never killed before or stabbed before. But when they left their house, they thought, today I'm a killer. And meanwhile, they've gone to the place. There's someone that's already stabbed or probably got off with a murder. So he's already cold. And he's showing nothing but darkness behind the eyes. So the person that thought today was the day that I'm going to get my first body ends up dead.
Yeah.
Who in the local authority is saving and preserving these lives of the young people? Do they even understand the young people they're dealing with? But yet then we've got grassroots organizations that's got links into these young people in the community being pushed out and being told to apply for scrappings from the Safer Neighborhoods pot, which is the pot that they would give to one organization before. And within Lewisham, all the youth money goes to an organization called Youth First. Some years ago, they said that Youth First was going to become independent and generate their own money. They fought against it, and now every single piece of money to do with young people goes into Youth First. And what the local authority does, because I've been there long enough and I understand, they crunch the numbers, make up stats that don't exist. Because if these stats exist, Croydon has got the largest population of young people than Lewisham. So Lewisham has got the second largest population of young people, bordering on to Southwark and Greenwich. But yet then we're seeing young people dying. 1.7 to 1.8 million for each investigation into the murder. Because a lot of people out there don't know that. They think that the murder, when the people die, the money's come from somewhere else. The local authority has to feed these young people. Meanwhile, they're in prison. Meanwhile, they're in these secure units. It is all coming out the budget of the local authority. And also when these young people die, who is then going into the community and working, giving the young people and their parents trauma support after their neighbor's been killed up the road, or the young man's primary school friend has just been murdered? No one. And these are the things that needs to be implemented into the community so the young people are no longer desensitized and normalized to the horrific violence that we're seeing out here. Because even as adults, I've seen parents being beaten up by their children in the house. Families are being strangled. So a lot of families know that they've got killers in their house, but they would rather the killers go outside and hurt somebody else so they could get a bit of breathing space from their killers that they've got in their house. So we need to also talk about that when we're talking about the community has given up hope because they don't feel that they're strong enough to police themselves. They're allowing their sleeping killers to go out there and take the life of someone else's children. Why is that? Because people that are elected are not even trying to talk to the community. They're not even offering anything to the young people. So the young people feel disconnected to the normal government, and they operate within an ungoverned space, and their prime ministers, whoever's giving them the knife, gun, or the drugs until they get arrested. So how long are we meant to sit back and talk about, oh, as councillors, we might not have that power, as MPs, we might, all this worrying about if nots and maybes needs to stop. And when, as you said, Dean, you see people putting their name in the hat, support them, because this is about the community. It's not about us as individuals. Because if the community don't support and stand right next to us, none of this makes any sense. And I'll make that clear. I'll repeat that again. If the community does not stand beside us, it makes
2 minutes
sense.
away. Thank you so much, Brother Quentin. I would like to wish, all of those of you who are standing for by-elections on Thursday. You know, the best of luck. I certainly hope that our community supports you. As someone said in the chat, what have we got to lose by voting for our candidates, our people who look like us? You know, at worst, it's more of the same. At best, you're able to make some change and be the difference. So certainly wish you the best. We have, you know, just one minute, and but let me just quickly go around and ask each person to say maybe one change that they would like to make. So we're going to ask you, Dr. Abu, if you could make one change, what would that change be?
Just one change. For us to make our people be honest with us. Just be honest with ourselves. That's all. That's all we have to do. Stop living a state of denial.
Right. Right, Dr. Abu. Oh, same question to Dean. Dean, if you could bring about one change for us as a people, what would that change be?
For us to fully support each other so that we have parity and our own structural inclusion, where we don't need permission from them for anything. But that includes taking our share and portion of resources that statistically relate to us as taxpayers in this country, so we can feed our own institutions.
Sure.
That's a great topic for another discussion of resources. I like that one. Brother Gwenton, you know, you're standing as counter-revolution. If you could make one change, what would that change be?
Bring the love back. And be the history.
Oh, is it me this
100 years. Yes, you. It's you, Sister
Bring
Shanice.
back
So I was saying, bring the love back, and let's be the history that in 200 years, the people that are alive then could say at least those people done the right thing, so we could be here.
Sure. Brother Huey seem like going to your Sister Shanice.
About the love within our community, and I think everything else.
No problem. Yeah, no problem. I think. Yeah, thanks.
To you.
Yeah, I have something very simple, and I'd ask for all of us to practice this in our daily lives. If we could just do unto others as we want others to do unto us. That's the only thing I'd want to ask for. Do unto others as you would expect others to do unto you.
Some of them develop fetish behavior. They love to be beaten.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, full family.
Can I just say one last thing?
Honestly,
I just wanted to say one last thing to the family.
I want
to thank. Wanted to say one last thing to the family before I run, because me and Gwenton spoke about it, and me and Huey spoke about it on Saturday when we were at Bridge Park.
Yeah,
and this is what brings it all together, and what we really want to see is to return the value of the currency of an African life, because all things have a currency, the value they have, and the currency of African life is low. It's low to us and it's low to everybody else. And what Huey was actually talking about on Saturday was creating a code of conduct, which is very formal, which is a training in how we deal with each other in a value system, which is the same conversation I had on the Cold Show with Brother Rap Raven today. So I don't want to take the time, but it is to restore the value of currency to African lives because we matter.
True. Honor all the time.
Mhm. Absolutely. Rise up, Brother Dean. Hi for additional notes. I want to thank the panel, each and every one of you, for our audience for their contribution in the live chat. And yeah, please do watch it back. Please do share it with family members and friends. We wish our candidates the best of luck, and certainly hope that you do get elected so that you can be the change that you want to be, and more importantly, so that you can inspire others, especially young people, to follow in your footsteps. There is absolutely no harm in trying whatsoever, and as a community we need to support them, because the more support and the more backing they get from us as a community, the more powerful they will be in their position. So rise up, everybody. More love, more power, and all being well, I'll see you black tomorrow at 8 p.m. for another deeply insightful and interesting discussion. Take care, family. Sister Shanice and panel members out of here for now. Burum.
Respect.
Burum power.
All the time.
Ashe.
More power. Ashe.
Love.
Okay.